Весь мир у нас в руках, мы звезды континента, разбили в пух и прах проклятых конкурентов. Мы к вам заехали на час. Привет, bonjour, hello. А ну скорее любите нас, вам крупно повезло. Ну-ка все вместе, уши развесьте. Лучше по-хорошему хлопайте в ладоши едва раскроем рот, как все от счастья плачут, и знаем наперед, не может быть иначе. Мы к вам заехали на час.
Ша!
Повезло. Ну-ка все вместе, уши развесьте. Лучше по-хорошему хлопайте в ладоши вы.
Я там торчу вроде, это самое, сигны в стиме I hate Monday. Сейчас пойду напишу. А он, блядь, сцену закрыл, ёбаный, сука. Ой, зачем? А, стоп. Чё я жалуюсь, блядь? Походу я не залогинен просто. Хули ты ноешь, долбоёб, как говорится. Так. Не знаю, кто такой Gay Band Software, но ему я оставил комментарий. Так, я hate Monday. Так, это есть. Кому-то я еще не оставил, да? Блядь, ты ж прошил нахуй ссылки кидать, блядь. Саня, забери у него поинты, не отдавай ему нихуя. Скажи мне, заебете, блядь. Там же буквально написано: приложите профиль в стиме, блядь. Чтобы я мог оставить там комментарий. Я нажимаю на ссылку просто и нажимаю, блядь. Вот так вот надо делать, как человек сделал. Ну, стена закрыта. Блядь, вы... Короче. Все, чтобы я, блядь, хоть раз в жизни... Вот нельзя же, знаете, проще сделать. Вот нельзя, нахуй. Это вот как, сука, в бюрократической какой-то вот компании работать. Вот... Может мне еще паспорт показать, блядь, перед тем, как комментарий-то оставлять? Ща. Это есть. Надо редим, кстати, залочить на один день, потому что меня могут забанить опять в комментариях. Так, кому я оставил? MC не оставил. Так, это пометить. Marcus Complete. Картовый пират. Все, всем оставил. Так, ща. Сейчас, секунду, я залочу пока. Трек, кстати, бомба, блядь, вот это вот, который сейчас играет. Я вот такой же трек слышал. Блядь, я вот пытаюсь его вспомнить целый день, не могу. Я сегодня в магазин ходил, тоже вспомнил что-то его. Так, cooldown and limits. Redemption cooldown time. Limit of redemptions per stream. 1. А, for viewers 5. Max individual redemptions per viewer per stream. Погоди, max total redemption for viewers. За каждый стрим 5 штук, ну да-да. Limit redemptions per user per stream. Для каждого юзера на стриме 1 раз. Здравствуйте, зеленка, все сделал. То есть 5 штук за стрим, и для каждого 1 раз в стрим можно. Все, запускаю Stanley Parable. Признаюсь честно, я фанат, очень большой фанат. Одна из моих любимых игр это как раз Beginner's Guide. Я ее постоянно всем дарю на день рождения. Не всем она, конечно, нравится, но мне прям очень зашло. Очень зашло. Пойдите спрашивайте у меня, как дела, блядь. Я как будто день сурка. Каждый день я просыпаюсь, включаю, как дела. Так, Стэнли. А, я не скачал игру. А сколько она весит? 7 гигов, ща быриком. Играть будем на ну, конечно, на инглише. А, там есть английский с русским субтитрами. Beginner's Guide тоже плакал. Ну, в конце, да, есть. Всплакнул чуть-чуть. Сейчас. Не зря же гигабит ставил. Как же этот трек называется? Ну-ка, сейчас попробую найти, пусть пока поиграю что-нибудь из вот этого вот. Нет, за это забанят. Вот. О. За электронику не банят. А, не-не, стоп, я такой сегодня микс нашел жесткий. Мама. А ну-ка, где он там у меня? Сейчас я его включу. Разъебет колонки. Во-во. Здравствуйте, Бёрды Кейков. Еще сейчас скажу сколько. 50% уже установилось из 7 гигов. Минута еще. Я пока попытаюсь найти трек, о котором я говорил. Это не оно. У меня еще привычка такая глупая, не знаю, может какой-нибудь есть, типа альбомами сохранять, знаете, треки в Spotify. У меня вот прям идут, прям ровно все треки одной группы идут. Здравствуйте, Никак 13. Никита, Никич. Можно просто Никитосик. А также можно просто Нексон. Походу я этот трек удалил. Там такой грустный трек какой-то был. Нихуя себе сэмпл жесткий, надо будет использовать его, кстати, на что-нибудь. Портер Робинсон. Я знаю Портера Робинсона. Но нет. А вот, кстати, я его нашел прямо сейчас. Ты сказал, вот у меня тут фреш статик снова. Вот это вот. Ты только про него сказал, он у меня в плейлисте появился снизу. Ща. Я, кстати, игру уже скачал и пытаюсь песню просто найти. А ну. Вот это походу это она. Или не? Я не уверен, я забыл. Я забыл, что я искал. Запускаю Stanley Parable. Так, выключаю эту хуйню. Сейчас, ну, сегодня стрим в стиле шпигуна, кто не понял? Ну, то есть я 15 минут запускаю стрим. Screen and subtitle language. Погоди. По-русски. Язык игры и субтитров. Вы уже играли в Stanley Parable? Да. Секунду, как мне вам это показать? Через захват экрана? Я просто... Тут, наверное, нету этого самого. Давайте вот так вот сделаем. Сейчас. Экран свой покажу. Так, источник видим им сразу. Это первый или второй экран? Это первый. Во, все, есть. Да. Притащите ползунок, чтобы компьютер был виден. А, блядь. Текущее время. Сколько сейчас время? 20:49. Это получается... 20:49 это же 9 часов, правильно? А, PM, AM нельзя поменять? 8:49. Я не могу поменять AM. На PM. А, просто часы вперед. А, во. Так, 8:49. 8:49 по PM. Уже по 8:50. Все. Специальные настройки можно выбрать. Хорошо. Сейчас музыку нахуй выключу. Так, настройки, поле зрения. 80. Ходьба одной рукой, блядь. Это, знаете, это для порно-игр, короче, где одной рукой можно ебашить. Вот, у меня же окно без рамки есть. А ну ща, может его можно захватить окном все-таки? Нет? Ну вот мой Spotify, кому интересно. А хуй там, походу, нельзя. Как я понял, да? Ладно. Без рамки применить. Game Capture не всегда работает. Ну, я попробую. Хорошо, я попробую сейчас. Сейчас попробую. Попробуем Game Capture. Заход отдельного окна. Это в основном зависит, кстати, от драйверов видеокарты, как я понял. Ты драйвера видеокарты обновляешь, и иногда не работает эта хуйня. Вот сейчас я запустил Game Capture, смотрим. О! Так, а ну-ка нахуй сюда. Все, начать игру. У меня ачивка за Stanley Parable, кстати, есть. Спасибо, что ты перебил меня, блядь.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
Или что первый раз
Something he
играю, не
would never
используйте.
quite forget.
Эта
He
игра
had
можно
been at
понять
his
фильм,
desk
который
for
мы
nearly
посмотрели.
an hour when he
Какой?
realized that not one
Какой? Этот
single
самый,
order
блядь,
had
автостопом
arrived
по
on the
галактике?
monitor for
Или как
him
мы
to
чем мы-
follow. No one had showed up to give him
Это серьезные образы?
instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong.
То есть, я как понимаю, тут основной сюжет Stanley Parable и плюс контент,
Stanley
да?
found himself unable
Я
to
надеюсь,
move
меня,
for
я
the
надеюсь,
longest
меня слышно, я могу вот так вот разговаривать.
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Чуть потише сделаем. Вот на 70. Как удобно теперь стало 144 Гц. Я, блядь, в эту игру играл на ноутбуке 1600 на 900 вроде, или какое у меня там было, какое разрешение.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Несколько прохождений появляются новые двери. А, понял.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Двери дрочу хожу.
Yet there was not
Я
a
игрок
single
Silent Hill.
person here
Я игрок
either.
Silent Hill.
Feeling a wave of disbelief,
Попрыгай.
Stanley
Тут
decided
нельзя
to go up to his boss's office, hoping
А,
he
прыгать
might
нельзя.
find an answer
Я
there.
ачивку дали, прыгать нельзя, блядь, написано. О, тут где-то маска из, по идее, да, лежит?
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Не, там скучно наверху, я не буду туда идти. Да я успею еще, не подсказывайте мне, я все еще успею. Я в эту игру не буду играть 5 минут,
But
блядь.
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter,
Играй как хочешь,
these
твой
rooms were
стереотип,
starting
ты
to
главный,
look
запомни
pretty
раз и
familiar.
навсегда.
Were they simply
Ну, я как самый главный
No, Stanley said to
командую,
himself,
значит,
this is all too strange.
завещаю
It can't be real.
подарить
At last,
мне
he came to the conclusion
гифт-сабы
that
в
had been on the tip of
количестве
his tongue.
30
He
штук.
just hadn't found the words for it.
Точнее, подарить
I'm
пользователям.
dreaming, he yelled. This
Здрасте,
is all a
Сайкуру.
dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't
Здрасте,
actually
Феликс.
gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may
Там
as
сразу
well
видно, что
enjoy
Unity,
this while
кстати.
I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner.
Она была на сурт... Изначально вообще бандом она была на Half-Life 2.
Dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking. Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream.
Как же мне заебала эта хуйня?
Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Нахуя я
Did the
сюда
voice not see
пошел,
him float and make
блядь?
the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
Ну, я тоже
Everything will
проходил.
be fine. I am okay.
И сейчас он проснется, и на самом деле у него будет паническая... А, фак. Нет.
Stanley began screaming.
Бля!
Someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance,
Сдох.
for just a
Да.
few brief moments,
Погиб.
she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
Пока что в Stanley Parable был самый лучший момент, который я проходил в старой части, это вот музей. Там есть музей, где женщина становится диктором. Это одна из лучших концовок.
She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Он стримит, да, это я. Я мистер стример. Я стримлю компьютер.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Тарков и Стэнли лучшие игры. А как же Сифу? А, на этом же. На Unreal, да?
When Stanley came to a set of two open
Я пошел влево в
doors,
прошлый раз.
he entered that this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee
А раз.
lounge first,
Я раз скачал,
just
он
to
меня не
admire
запустил.
it.
У меня раз не запустилось. Я запустил, блядь, на стриме запустил, начал загружаться и крашнулся, и все, вот это мой...
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Какой-то завод. Нет, я хочу... А что туда? Да, пойду сюда. Ладно, как
And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
я еду сюда.
walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got
А,
back
не,
on track.
сори, диктор, извини. Я тут лифт увидел. С кнопкой испортила второго. Я сейчас поеду.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
А что, у меня есть выбор. Вот, блядь. Так и быть. Мистер Диктор, пойду сюда.
Oh, no.
Да,
No, it's to the
блядь.
right, my mistake. No, not the right.
Еще раз ты закроешь
Why
эту
would
дверь,
I have
нахуй
ever
вырубишь.
said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly...
Никита Подонок, привет.
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left...
Не, нельзя успеть,
right.
скорее всего.
Yep,
Она
okay,
по скрипту
okay,
закрывается.
yes.
То есть, когда я
I've
встаю
got
на
it
определенном
now.
расстоянии
This
к двери, то
story
она
is
закрывается.
absolutely, definitely this way.
Так работают видеоигры. О, я пришел в эту комнату.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Хорошо.
And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh.
Здравствуйте,
Everything
Павел.
should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors?
Я стоял
Did
на
you
месте.
move the story somewhere, or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Все, мы идем сюда. Ебать, бэкрумс. Подожди, тут? Да она у всех слетает. Всем переподписаться. Блять. Короче, справа налево надо.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game?
Не, сейчас
again?
начну все.
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress.
Я
by
нашел.
starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this.
Нашел.
Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Блять.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Стоп, что? А, тут разлито.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from.
Понял.
Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Хорошо, пойдем. Сейчас найду. Он как рассказчик могу мне все двери открыть, правильно? Он же знает, что... О, компьютер. Ой, блядь. Я, походу, вызвал бомбу какую-то на что-то.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Как же меня заебал. О. Недостроено, видимо. Я пришел в этот... Это комната СКС Милиша.
Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building.
Будете спиной
Is that
ходить?
correct?
Ничего. Тут другие
Do you
триггеры.
remember, Stanley? Well, do you know
Не
what?
хочу вдаваться в
Since
тех
I've
части,
completely
а то
forgotten what
будет
we were supposed to be
экспириенс,
doing, how
поломается
about
из этого.
this? You win! Congratulations!
Let's go.
I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job.
Я
Oh,
победил.
no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win.
Но я ходил.
Some people win fair
Я
and square,
ходил.
and this was not one of those situations. Okay?
Ну, стрелялку
I'm
мне
getting
включи, я
weirded out by
побежду
whatever
всех.
this place is.
Beginner's Guide
Okay,
проходил,
what
надо было в
happened
начале
this
стрима
time,
слушать
I
внимательно.
have to restart. All right, I've got a solution.
А вот, по
This
линии.
time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
Понял.
Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Здрасте, киберднище.
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction.
Все.
Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
Сейчас пройду.
Here's
Я
a
выиграю.
thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on.
Это слишком по-философски, можно?
Weird back there?
Да, немножечко странно получилось. Зеленка, спасибо огромное.
Not sure where I was going with all
Подписок
that.
мало сейчас, пиздец.
You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of
Все
music to
подписывайтесь,
lighten the
молю.
mood.
О,
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
запомнил. Музыку. Не будет?
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you,
Спасибо, Зеленка.
after
Во.
everything we've been through,
Зеленка ограбила это
No,
самое.
I can't take this
Ограбила
anymore. To
банк.
hell with it. Restart.
Если карту не обслуживает, то можно попробовать через что-нибудь другое, через Xolo какой-нибудь или еще что-нибудь. Здравствуйте,
You know
Якудза.
what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting.
Xolo, все тогда что-нибудь
daring,
еще.
mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds
Через VKP
perfectly
можно, вот
doable.
видите?
Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Пойдем. Все, сейчас будет наша история. Сейчас не будет Stanley Parable.
Yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. What's
Мега
the
Гуколд, спасибо. 16 и 12 стрик.
Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for
Так, я
it.
хочу поиграть в Counter-Strike.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Эта игра так идет? Ну, эта игра так идет, да.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
Так и быть.
Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin.
Зеленка сошла с ума
starting
просто.
from
Спасибо
the right,
огромное.
let us ask,
Спасибо,
will
спасибо.
taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since
Спасибо
the answer is
огромнейшее.
yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic.
Хорошо, если это логично. Я не слушал, но если логично, то я иду направо. А, тут, в принципе...
Hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this
Он даже здесь был неправ.
wall.
Даже эти двери ведут сюда.
Who consulted me?
Знаешь, что случилось с маленькими зеркальными очками? Не знаю. Ты, скорее всего, с телефона, у тебя их нет, но они есть.
No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting.
А, ну да, и зависит еще от уровня подписки, кстати.
I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Ну что, мне стоять?
And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait, you know. I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination
Да, это
or
очень
the
весело.
journey. Though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
What the f... Чего, блядь?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Компики. Input received. То есть такие компьютеры... Компьютеры нужно найти здесь, скорее всего, среди других и по инпуту понажимать. И тут один, значит, еще есть сколько? Раз. 5 секунд. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять. 5. Никите, скорее всего, загифцабили, я помню, кто-то... О, new content. Мне сюда.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ты можешь апгрейднуть существующую уже подписку на 3-й левел, вроде бы. Это дешевле будет.
Hello, and thank you for playing The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, The Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013
Это я знаю,
on
да.
home computers.
Я даже знаю, что она из мода изначально была сделана.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Ура!
Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ну, пойдем посмотрим.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet.
А, то есть этот диктор тоже не знает.
Beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Диктор тоже не знает. То есть это не его история теперь получается.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we...
Блядь, DLC на лифт не купил. Забыл.
There we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Пойдем, пойдем.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Можно прыгать, да? Нихуя. У меня кончилось, все. Не могу вообще прыгать, блядь. Че, новые копии игры покупать надо или что? Все, больше прыгать не могу. Кончились у меня прыжки.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say,
Ну, разработчики хуйню анимали 12 лет. Это мне Overwatch 2.
Elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box.
Articus.
The Stanley Parable
Привет.
Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good.
Диктор сейчас ёбнется нахуй.
I knew there had to be something else.
Ему очень не нравится Ультра Делюкс.
I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other
я
than
понял.
to make
Это жесткий тейк от Stanley Parable, я понял.
started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In
Спасибо,
fact, I'm
Зеленка, за
looking
гифтсап
right now at the
Articus.
game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault,
Я понял, это жесткий тейк от Stanley Parable. Мне нравится такое, я доволен новым контентом.
If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Давай, перезапускай. Ох, блядь. Они, походу, диктора убили, нахуй. Они его заканцелили в Твиттере, теперь его нету. Я теперь сам.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Скрывается, он скрывается, видите? He vented.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers
Dark Souls теперь? Или что
Just
это?
our little secret.
Йо.
Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
Это прикольно ты придумал.
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley,
Реально, гляньте, в старом стиме. Она еще на Украине? А почему она на украинском? Почему она на украинском?
Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Это, наверное, какой-то фанатский скриншот, я так понимаю. Кто-то кого-то попросили скинуть страницу, самую старую. Мне кажется, фанат какой-то из Украины просто ебанул им старую страницу со стима. Прям в день релиза, видимо, когда она вышла. Сколько она? 24 доллара? Ну, там не видно. То типа время остановилось. 20:13. Вот Memory Machine, вроде бы, да? Или не? Buy on Steam. Galactic Cafe Game. А где же мод? Вот. British Academy of Film, Television Arts, Stanley Parable. Там The Last of Us не написано. Первый доллар мистера Крабса вот. Заработанный. Это, я так понимаю, саундтрек. Да, это саундтрек, он у меня вроде тоже есть. Smile because it happened. Ну, это типа для фанатов. Я так понимаю. Вот демо игра. А нельзя в нее поиграть? Не. Go outside. Эта ачивка тоже есть. Это тоже у меня есть. New video game releasing today. The New York Times. Stanley Parable deals tough choices. Вот тут есть Виста. А, нельзя выйти сюда, ладно. О, там рояль нахуй стоит. Маленький Стэнли, смотрите. Погиб этот самый хомячок, умер. Похоронили его в игре.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning
Мой
triumph
любимый.
of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "We're so many games that aspire to be
Он
more
его пародирует,
and are less
блядь.
than any form of art. Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and
О, сюжет, кстати, лежит в Stanley Parable.
the original Stanley Parable was.
Прям здесь.
It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless
Я понял, это
husk
тоже жесткий
with
тейк
an
на этих, на
hour of
фанатов,
new
на старых,
elevated
которые ноют.
content.
Я так понимаю. Портал висит. Что тут еще есть? О, вот мод. The Nostalgic. Майнкрафт. Ну, Стэнли. Вот он, кстати, его моделька. Хаммер, ёбаный в рот. Хаммер. Там дверь, потом пойду. The Original Remake, во. Чья-то машина, видимо, на 3D-движке сделана. Смайлик. Блядь, дверь за мной закрылась, я, наверное, не выйду.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game
Preparing
was
Snake
perfect.
Oil
It didn't
Salesman
need
routine
anything
там
else.
написано.
It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game
Source
memories.
SDK. Move objects, create graphics.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go
Ну да,
back
мне было 13
and
лет
have it
тогда
all
вроде бы,
over
да? Если оно в
again.
2013 вышло. Ох, ох,
Wait,
спина.
I don't recall this part of the memory zone
О, какой я
What's this? What's
старый.
down here?
Это что
Oh
тут?
no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor.
Не может быть.
I haven't looked
Сейчас
at
такие
these in
ревью
years.
тут будут, пиздец, я
I can't
чувствую
even
уже.
imagine what's been collecting down here.
Открывай быстрее.
Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Открывай быстрее, там пиздец сейчас будет, я уверен. Во, первый.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Знал бы ты человек, который в 2013 году, или какой там был год, когда он ревью напишет, что он в игру, блядь, попадет через сколько, 12 лет, нахуй? Знал бы он в 18. Фура с лайками подъехала, куда разгружать. Вот они лежат. Прикольно, этот самый такой, типа, как оно называется, пастел эффект такой, типа, как у картины, знаете? Мазками сделали, чтобы не было видно, что там написано. Ну, скорее всего, там ревью оригинальный, я так понимаю, судя. А, не, это одна текстура на все.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it Well, I always
16-й год ревью,
but maybe
кстати
it
говоря.
wasn't. Oh dear.
А хороший есть?
Awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
А где же хорошее
I feel
ревью?
like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Вон еще один, еще один.
What's this one got to
Cookie
say?
9, 14-й год.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Нет, я не буду пропускать твои диалоги. А вот она.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot.
Нет, я не
I'll
буду
pop
это
you
делать.
forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right
Пусть
past it.
пусть
It's what the
рассказывает.
players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling
Просто с
on and
технической
on.
стороны-
No. The Stanley Parable is a game
Просто
for the people.
не каждый
And the people
человек
want
понимает,
silence
сколько
and by
актер,
goodness,
который
that's
озвучивал
what
этого
they're
человека,
going
ну
to get.
нарратора сам,
Well,
сколько
don't
он
sit around
вкладывал в
waiting
эту
for me to
хуйню.
shut up. Go ahead and make me
Сколько
shut
он
up.
записывал,
Yeah.
это прикиньте.
We'll
Это ж надо
pretend that
записать,
I've
не
just
запнуться
begun
ни
an
разу.
interminable
Красиво
monologue,
записать.
and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until.
Я послушаю. Ему ж надоест когда-нибудь, не?
Logic of elimination working backwards.
Если он, конечно, не на 2 часа, сука, голосовуху в Телеграме записал, блядь. Это вот.
For nearly 10,000 years. Until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah.
Гондон всё испортил, блядь.
We've eaten too.
Он все испортил. Он все испортил, блядь. Он все, весь экспириенс испортил.
You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise.
Я вроде еще раз могу
Or
скипнуть.
maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought, or rather, to all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite.
Решение человека в текущий данный момент не всегда зависит не всегда зависит от самого человека, делающего решение, я бы сказал.
And that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look. I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation.
Спасибо, зеленка, за гифта. Лимон, скоро уже сотка будет.
Back and forth in repeated
Что за
succession
зеленка дарит?
until I become
Загифтите
sick
кто-нибудь
of
еще
one
будет.
or the
Хайп-трейн
other,
должен
in
быть.
which case the word I
Вроде бы.
am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Он специально это делает.
Treatise,
Он и специально нахуй это делает.
Treatise, manifesto. 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 Treatise. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review,
Я
or at
надеюсь.
least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works.
Он же для доты озвучил анонсера. Как он не
Before I
знает.
went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit
Они это
one's
сделали,
review,
они это
merely
сделали.
because of this very situation.
Они сделали
Yes,
это, можно
I
там.
think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature
Остальные
is not
два.
widely abused. Look, I
Ой,
would
бля.
even be okay with Steam
Когда зажимаешь
altering this
Е,
particular review so that it
Е
leads
и
to something
две
more
кнопки мыши.
beneficial.
А, это на
Something
правую
along
кнопку
the
ходить
lines of,
можно.
"This
Да?
game
Или
is
как
the
ходить?
best
А, на две.
game."
На две можно ходить. Две кнопки
Let me
мыши зажимаешь,
start
можно
over.
ходить.
How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolution.
Это реально? А ну погоди. Он удалил ревью. Дружищан, спасибо огромное за гифтсаб. Бака. Бля, там такой профиль еще у чувака, нахуй. Люди ему комментарии оставили, говорят, надеюсь, тебе понравилось. Он удалил ревью, блядь. Он удалил ревью.
The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever
Киберпанк
made.
2077
It is
нравится, мало
perhaps
когда
true
люблю
to
открытые
say
миры, но
that
видимо
no
Киберпанк мое
mistakes are
почтение.
forever etched
Мне не
in
нравится.
stone, for the stone into which the
Вот
Stanley
тут
Parable was
больше
carved
открытый мир, я
has
считаю, в
itself
этой игре.
been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future.
Какого хуя в Stanley Parable не назвали распрыг?
That's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again. It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more
Так, ребята, запишем прямо сейчас в чат.
From the ashes of
Еще раз.
depravity rises the
Пишем,
phoenix
пишем,
of
пишем в чате
quality.
быстро.
How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved
записывайте
video
внимательно.
game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again.
Хорошо,
I
не
think the
буду.
skip button has been aptly
Вот он ревью.
demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button.
Ну пойдем, блядь, тут дверей нету, нахуй. Я бы не нажимал на нее, если бы... Ты сам понимаешь.
Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall?
Смотри, смотри.
Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave?
Ты что, похож, блядь, на беженца из Шоушенка или на кого? Ща. Я на... Уязвимость натрогаю в стене, блядь.
I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promised. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button.
Хорошо, я найду.
Please do not press the skip button.
Ну хорошо, да. Я подожду, да.
And don't press the skip button.
Хорошо, я жду. Да, иди.
I'll be right back.
Хорошо. Показалось ли, что это там было? Или я уже параноик? Мне показалось, тут была линия, когда я проходил. Вот такая вот игра Stanley Parable. Можно походить, можно посмотреть на заборы. Вот есть забор такой вот большой, ну, больше, ну, в районе 3 метров. В зависимости, конечно, от того, какой Стэнли высокий. Но я предполагаю, что 1,70 м примерно. Вот такой вот забор интересный. Рядом с ним стоит банка с краской из Counter-Strike Source. То есть реюзнутый контент, как вы можете понять. У нас тут вот присутствует огромный красивый потолок с красивым освещением, который падает сюда на желтую кнопку. Вот и, собственно, цветочек есть. Есть пожарная тревога на случай пожара. Вот одна почему-то на всю комнату. Здесь есть это самое. Циркуляция воздуха. Забор. Есть стремяночка, если, конечно, вы хотите отыграть роль человека, который красит стены, например. Краска есть, вот все слажено. Тут, как вы можете заметить, есть environmental storytelling, так называемый. Storytelling благодаря... Я сюрфлю, вы видите? Тут environmental storytelling, как вы можете заметить. То есть тут жил строитель раньше в этой комнате. Вот видите, здесь лежит медная медная линия. Или как она называется? Медная проволока, короче, лежит. Вот стоит землянка. А вот здесь стоит краска, соответственно... Эджбаг нашел. Elden Ring не проходил, мне не понравилось. Нашел жесткий эджбаг в Stanley Parable. Как вам такое? Блядь, наратор там сколько? Где он там ищет его? Нахуй на улице, что ли? Наратор, походу, пошел к Юзе на стрим, блядь, узнавать, как двери делать. Фангдор как сделать на Сурсе. О, тут нету коллизии. Фикус. Вот этот вот цветок, это фикус называется. Я предлагаю заняться тем, чтобы найти, что вот это за цветок. пока мы ждем. Человек в конце концов отошел, я предлагаю узнать, что это за цветок.
Всем привет. Попросили меня сделать двери наподобие той, что у меня в бане сделано. Только немножко нестандартных размеров, чуть-чуть покороче, где-то 1,75 м, такая коротенькая дверь. Здесь у меня такие досочки необрезные. Из них
А вот это надо, вот это мне надо. Так. 42 на 42. Угу. Ну почему он так долго, блядь? Ну сколько его ждать? Где же ты нахуй? Когда Генша никогда.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
Ну ты меня тоже
You've just
подрежешь.
been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting
Ghost number
longer,
18
but
можете
they're
забанить
really,
к ебени
truly
матери,
getting
за
longer, and
спойлерами.
my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe.
Да, я скипнул. Я ждал, я скипнул. Не заспойлерили. Не спойлернули, что он перейдет через час, Дань, в чате.
Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem?
Если бы не спойлерили, я бы ждал.
Cookie Nine's opinion matters so much to me. I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child. Wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken.
Паш, я эджбаг
If
нашел.
only it pleases
Stanley
this
Parable.
one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button, to become frozen in time, knowing that you're going to do it, and that I'm going to be stuck all alone, and that I had the power to prevent it all from happening, if only I'd held my tongue. It's all out of my control now. Just you. Just your decision as to exactly when you're going
Похоже,
to
не на
suffer
баг, а
to
на
leave me
механику.
all alone. Surely you will. I don't doubt it.
Кто-то не, он не шарит за эджбаг, ребята, он не шарит за эджбаг.
And surely you'll put your own desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know.
Также сейчас мимо шутка проходит, мимо, конечно, всего чата, это просто жесть, пиздец.
And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixated.
На нахуй фликну.
You're back. You're back.
Цветок уже сгнил.
Oh my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with.
Я на Пантеоне, кстати, вчера под «Лучше позвоните Солу» поставил время еще больше, чем раньше у меня.
And you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley.
Когда Team
It
Fortress
isn't
будет,
the same
будет,
at all.
все будет.
It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is
А, бля, сейчас от старости умру, нахуй. А, ну диктор первый сдох, блядь. Пожарная тревога сработала. Ну ладно.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They moaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands.
Прошел год,
But
если
then
что.
he's talking
Он
too
все еще, он
much,
все
is
еще.
it?
Он не может
First, he
успокоиться.
didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency. It's the lack of accountability. It's the unwilling.
Я воду слышу. А где? Понял. Труба нахуй. Труба заржавела, наверное, уже, блядь. Уже надвое.
Is never the end, 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 is.
А, во, реально. Я так понимаю, из-за того, что я застряю, короче, я просто на месте ну, типа, я не старею, условно. Ох, блядь, что случилось? Какой-то обвал, ну вот туда трубы обвалило, видимо. Я понял. Может, он еще развалится, я смогу пройти. Ух ты. Прикольно. Потихоньку, потихоньку это место в банни-хоп-карту превращается, короче. Все, пиздец, все сгнило нахуй. Или это ночь просто начал. Ух, блядь. Здание упало. Ебо. И кнопки тоже пизда уже, все. Ну пойдем. Это эффект влаги, видимо, был. Показалось, что там что-то за этим сам. Начинается выживалка. Stanley Parable начинается выживалка. О. Наратор, походу, сдох.
All of his
А, во.
contacts had gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Компьютер теперь не работает этот, кстати, где инпуты он просил. New content. Let's go.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
О, давай, поехали. Не дай бог там сейчас опять это, блядь, в музее будет. А, не. Куда в этот раз меня повезут? Надеюсь, теперь дадут возможность, не знаю, рисовать на стенах.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out.
А нормально все, ты заебал уже, блядь.
Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Let's go, Stanley Parable 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why there are so many possibilities.
О, вот для инвесторов, предпоказ, сейчас пойду.
This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think?
Это правда, это правда.
Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean?
Во.
But the Stanley Parable
Так, это
2,
наброски на
now
лого, вот.
that's an artistic
Stanley Parable 2.
statement right there. It's future
Thanks for
oriented.
attending my
It
meeting.
screams progress and innovation and long-term
О, там есть в
franchising.
стиле The Last of Us, вон, смотрите. Типа 2. Я так понимаю, это тоже калька на что-то различное. Ну, там я только один шрифт узнал, второй который. Зеленка, спасибо огромное за гифтсаб Донкинс. Ну, на Давиднеса она похожа, потому что, ну, бродилка. Как бы. Stanley Parable 2, ну их просто двое.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a
Design
handful of
pitch break,
interesting
pitch
concepts,
design.
that surely the game will sort of naturally
Игра еще не готова
spring
пока.
up around them.
Пока еще только
It'll all
дизайн
work
пичет.
itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy
Так.
magic than
Сиквел это
anything
круто.
scientific
Portal
or
2,
logical,
Half-Life,
really.
Абрахам, Arkham Asylum 2, City, Divinity Original Sin, Doom, Dark Souls, ну везде 2, да. Dark Souls 2 охуенный, да, лучший сиквел. Шоу-флор, сейчас покажут игру, походу. New features. Тут автобус припаркован посреди здания. Наверное, это въезд, я так понимаю. Во! Вот, собственно, и Stanley Parable.
Go on, try out some of the new features.
А ну давай. Можно услышать свое имя в игре, прям как в Fallout 4, блядь. Что еще есть? Куда бы пойти, Такой большой этот самый. Такой большой кон по Stanley Parable. Пойти ли сюда, или пойти?
Пятница, ребят, я живой, кстати, пока что. В Fortnite без стройки, кстати, секс. Правда, мапу пока не адаптировали для этого режима. А еще я
Охуеть.
забыл, что сказать хотел. Но заебись, короче, все. Живите, короче, клево и не болейте, ребят, а то вы умрете еще и мама расстроится.
What the fuck? Какое-то, блядь, предписание, как будто на смерть уже готовы. Бро,
For the Stanley Parable
все
2,
нормально. Спасибо
I
за 100
asked
рублей
myself,
огромное. Notice me someone.
what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
А ну давай.
Isn't that wonderful?
Я готов. Она скажет сейчас мое имя. А ну.
Jim.
Блядь.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button
Меня-
only says the name Jim.
Меня не
But
так
of
зовут.
course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to
Ну, теперь
really
хорошо, я
simulate
типа
the full
Джим.
experience
Теперь я
of
Джим.
this feature. Just play
Ну там
along.
почти.
I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath.
Ну там почти,
clear
там
your
вот если
mind,
одну букву
forget
поменять, то будет
whoever
Джим,
you
да.
are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay,
Хорошо,
Jim,
давай,
then you'll
давай.
never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a... All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Ну пойдем, посмотрим, что еще есть в новой части Stanley Parable 2. Что есть еще? Enjoy the new features.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2.
Хорошая
They
идея.
would appreciate what I've created here.
Whole new office. Бэйбик вырос из концовки той. Теперь в красном цвете будет. Кстати, слышите это самый? А, не слышно, показалось. Был этот звук. О, слышите? Кнопка с именем игрока запустить прыжковый круг и бесконечная дыра. Ну это, конечно, охуенное нововведение. О, мерчендайз есть, смотрите. Походу, это реально работающий QR-код, я сейчас проверю. А ну-ка. StanleyParable2.com. Сейчас зайду. Official website. Expo Hall. Taste the sequel написано. Learn more, а ну. А, ну это просто сайт, сделанный для Deluxe Edition. По приколу. Там ссылка на... Это самый... На Deluxe Edition. Stanley Parable 2. What the fuck? Это что, новая игра? No screenshots.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons.
Я журналист, который... Зеленка, спасибо. Я журналист, который сливает этот геймплей.
Which would you go with?
Так.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get well, someday it is.
Я не то выбрал, бля.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Free new easy achievement. Achievement. Ну и пойдем, получу achievement. Pull the lever and receive your new achievement.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement.
Oh.
Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you.
Ну давай.
It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps
Блядь.
I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ну дайте, блядь. Блядь. Обманули. В очередной раз обманули. Что ж, понравился мне
What
очевидно.
else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Вот кружочек с прыжками есть. Новый контент.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well.
Это хорошая идея.
Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle?
Да.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Это как в этом в фильме Вий. Круг нахуй. О, тут карта есть. Так, карта на пятерочке. Что там есть? Free Achievement, This Map. Ага. Merch Settings World Champion. Это что такое? Stanley Parable, Orange Bucket. Office Decorations, Epilogue, Collectibles. Эпилог где нахуй? А, в этот, в подвал. Infinite Hall. Надо пойти в это самое, в Settings World Champion надо сходить. Это где? А, тут поменялось, смотрите. A gem in the game. Он поменял. Он поменял на это самое вывески, пока я там был. Пошли к ведру тогда.
A
Нихуя.
common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much
Джим
consideration,
Стерлинг поиграет,
I've
охуеет от этой
engineered
игры.
a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even
Я забрать
rather
уже могу или
long
нет?
for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an
Спасибо,
air of
тут.
charisma as well?
За 100.
I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive
Спасибо
as a
огромное.
person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Не, мне кажется, если ведро на голову можно будет надеть, это будет намного лучше. Это будет фича покруче. В сиквеле.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Так. Ведро. О, вот еще. Сюда я не ходил. Есть бесконечная дыра. А это что такое? А, я сюда выходил в прошлый раз. Тут это самое. Презентация типа. Distance P. Ага, это... Блять, он, видимо, в пейнте сделано, как я понимаю. Educational use.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling.
В Silent Hill такое было.
Until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Ой, блядь. А, я понял, это оно. Ну ладно, погнали, раз уж на топ. Я с ведром, мне ничего не страшно.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Нажать G.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top.
А что-то...
Maybe do it on the
Что-то мне кажется, она не бесконечна.
spectrum of
Что-то мне кажется, не бесконечно, но он если бы...
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite
Он
how to
же
say this
знает.
carefully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the
Я нахуй как знал.
Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it?
Можно определить, как я падаю сильно от этого,
от
света сверху.
From one perspective, the infinite
Ой, я упал
is
куда-то.
merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated.
Это... Я только сейчас понял. Это, бля, дай ведра нахуй. Помните это видео? Это я сейчас. Это...
Mostly infinite. If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're...
Сделайте мем, пожалуйста, кто-нибудь, кто умеет. Артём Балбена здесь?
Excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Кто-нибудь сделайте, кто качественно может сделать, пожалуйста. Пока идея, блядь, не ушла просто так. Пока идея не умерла или кто-нибудь не сделал. А, еще раз можно? Again. Ну давай again.
Oh, for heaven... You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem
Я
is
дропнулся
that
уже,
you
да, я уже и
like
лечу.
holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time?
Да,
I couldn't
да.
help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that...
Это оптимизировано, чтобы не
Well,
лагало.
I suppose, once again, there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Хорошо.
Had enough? I'm positive.
Let's
I
go!
really do have so... Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite.
Это правда.
I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the whole infinite.
Я сейчас занимаюсь плейтестом.
By the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the, teleport button not working?
Ну да. А что?
You sure?
Ты что, выключил ее?
Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. Still nothing? Well, I suppose I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Блять, он ушел. Ну вот, сижу в дыре. Ой. А диктор-то ушел, он не знает о том, что в дыре есть секретка какая-то. А куда она меня везет, интересно? Ну, вот это уже Silent Hill какой-то.
My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine. My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine. My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine.
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss.
Блять, лучше бы я в дыру играл, под бит нажимал на
I just
кнопочки.
pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole. From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Блять, зачем он пришел? Он все испортил. Все, походу, закончилось. Это концовка здоровья. А тут там же можно дальше пройти. После экспо, правильно? Меня сейчас вернет, наверное, с... А, не, меня сюда вернуло.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Да, концовка здоровья, конечно, прикольная. That's new написано. Can you find them all? Да, там написано. Да, collect them all. Ох, нихуя себе.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them.
Это охуенно.
I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a
Мне кажется, если еще раз нырну, то ничего не будет. Меня же типа загрузил назад, потому, скорее всего, ресетнул просто. О. Е.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Так, ну я вроде все посмотрел. Да, можно уходить. Эпилог.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Чемпион мира по настройкам. Почти бесконечная дыра. Он поменял. Он поменял. Подожди. Не пустит меня так? А, вот как. Блять, я почти догадался сам, прикинь.
This is the story of a man
Все ползунки или прям все? И все тоглы прожать. Понял. Я, блядь, почти сам догадался до этого, удивительно. Так, что-то еще есть. Вертикалочку выключим. Язык поменяй и вообще все нажми. Нужно язык поменять еще. На English. Бля, чем я занимаюсь? О, фовня 90 поставлю заодно. Антиальясинг. Ты не все прокрутил. Бля, что я не прокрутил еще? Что я еще не прокрутил? Бля, что? Вот что я еще не прокрутил? Field of view. Ты специально будто... Не, я реально просто... Ладно, все, хорошо. Заново. Вместо вообще все, прям вообще все надо. Блядь, сейчас. Хорошо, с самого начала. Все. Точно чемпион настроек, блядь. Сейчас. Так. Есть. О, дали ачивку мне. Чемпион мира по настройкам. Все, зашибись. Теперь я могу зайти? Блять. Ой.
Aha! I can see you've gotten the Settings World Champion Achievement. Well done.
Секундочку, надо выключить субтитры. О, не, это, метки объектов надо, наверное, выключить. Блять, мастер, конечно, Мастер настроек.
You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So, just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called bumpscosity. What exactly is bumpscosity? Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I just know that you'll be able to adjust it on some sort of slider, and that it'll be available from the settings menu. We'll sort the rest of the details out later. I hope you're looking forward to trying out every level of bumpscosity in the Stanley Parable 2.
Давай попробуем bumpscosity. Вот. Изменяет уровень пупыркости. Изменил уровень пупыркости на 1000. Я что изменил? Ну ладно, пусть будет. Так. Можно уходить, я думаю, уже все отсюда, да? В эпилоге я уже был. Тут я был. А вот И. Мне нужно И. Окей, это что такое? А, понял, это дыра. Где И? Получается, вот здесь? А, вот выход. Да, мне сюда. Что ж, классная игра будет, Stanley Parable.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Да, пойдем. Крутая игра будет, Stanley Parable, жду. Не зря сходил на этот виртуальный кон. Поглядел. Теперь на хайпе, так сказать.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
Да, ведро больше всего
I know it's not
понравилось.
exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Давай, там еще и эти. И фигурки собирать. Сейчас будет такой геймплей, я жду, да.
Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Демка сейчас будет. Вот она, погнали. Что сейчас за звук был?
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Oh, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and gameplay of the original. Wait,
было бы очень смешно.
Maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course.
Да что вы говорите?
With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Stanley Parable 2. Вот так, зайдем в настроечки. Настроим пупырскость. Ну, собственно, я готов играть. Давайте. Уже можно скипнуть. Скипнуть можно кассы.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been
Как
made
начать играть
essential
Clash
for this
Славы на
job.
геймпад, потому что я очень на аркадном стике играю.
Was
На
happy.
геймпаде прям по-другому ощущаю. Там удобнее намного должно
And
быть.
then
Просто
one
играй
day,
больше и все.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would
Stanley
forever
Parable
change
2.
Stanley.
Let's go,
Something he would
baby.
never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to
Ну,
give
гляньте,
him
шарики, которые я выбирал тоже.
instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi.
Блять, надеюсь,
Never
будет
in
ведро.
all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Погнали. Stanley Parable 2.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
О,
Stanley picked up the bucket.
уже нравится, уже нравится.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone?
Не, скажите, ну с ведром реально лучше. Игра. Как будто все преобразилось.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Так.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you?
Не-не-не-не-не.
The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion
Это
and
правда, да.
lifelong friend. You can't hand
Я
it
никому не отдам ведро, нахуй.
No. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Он переозвучил, где я с ведром. Это пиздец. Это так смешно, нахуй. О, здесь я не был. О, collectible!
Found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Тут написано, to be rich is a crime, to commit crimes is not rich. Что там на картине было? Тю ты, блядь. Показалось, им что-то взорванное было. Так.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845.
До 845. Подожди. Тут... А, я из-за того, что хожу здесь, я могу типа нажимать, да?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Как я угадал?
Was it the bucket knew all along?
А, это ведро.
Was the bucket guiding him?
Ведро знало.
This is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Погнали. Игра проходится жестко, видите?
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
На ведро, кстати, очень красиво.
Through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Блять, прикиньте, можно упасть вниз.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything.
А я уже не могу упасть, меня уже закрыли. Если на стул получится забраться уголком.
Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
На вот это, вот сюда можно вроде забраться. Хотел сказать, на вот это ведро. А во, видите? Не, падать не хочу. Ну ладно, ради зрителей. Блять, сука. Ща. О.
But just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the mind control facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall. Now, what to do next? Stanley wondered. Stanley and the bucket could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here. So they set up a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here, a bit cold perhaps. After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of kitchenette that was useful for when the bucket was craving paninis. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel like a home. In fact, after some time, Stanley realized that it had been ages since he had even thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility. This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning. It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail. All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back, doing it over again, staying on the path. It was a mistake to leave the path. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending. This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was unconsolable. This isn't an ending. This is just a hole in the ground. The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending. But it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually. It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
Забрали ведро, походу, у меня, блять. А, ну я во вторую часть еще играю.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
What the fuck? Зачем такие вещи говорит? Figurine Finders Committee. О, можно пойти в митинг-рум и встретиться с теми, кто ищет фигурки тоже.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Все нормально, ведро на месте.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Bottom text.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ладно, пошли пройдем по истории этого самого, по истории нарратора, а потом уже будем смотреть.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of
Блядь.
any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket
Что происходит?
guiding him?
А, о.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Пока что очень прикольно. Пока что очень прикольно. Реально Deluxe Edition, так называемый. Чувствуется Deluxe Edition. Тот факт, что там можно на текстуру залезть и упасть вниз, и будет еще одна концовка, это пиздец. Это же додуматься до такого. Это же додуматься, что кто-то вот так вот залезет сюда. Вот так вот, типа. Возьмет, блядь, залезет на стул и вот так вот сюда. Вот сюда, на вот эту хуйню.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
Сколько нахуй можно спойлерить мне игру? Вот нахуя вы это сам? Нахуя Ghost Number 18, блядь, спойлерить всю игру?
Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Ты что ли не понимаешь, что в этом и прикол, как бы, что из-за того, что я пропущу кое-что, то ничего страшного. Ну, как бы, или что?
Or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. and as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Как отключить-то нахуй? Ханакачев, спасибо за 8 месяцев. System power. Отключи. Off.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about
Ну уж нет, ведро я не
Stanley
отдам.
realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket.
Вот все правильно,
To be
да.
trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Блин, такая себе нахуй концовка, если честно.
My God, the bumpscosity in here is absolutely overwhelming. 1,000? You people have got to be nuts. How can you stand this much
Сейчас.
bumpscosity?
Доволен?
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it true. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Так, нет, стоп. Куда я не ходил еще? Пойдем сюда.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Джерман озвучки.
The bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced
Там вот
that the bucket
фигурка,
had spoken
вон
to
видите?
him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well?
Знаете, это самый,
To see him
как он
delusional like this,
называется, с Райаном
obsessing over
Гослингом
an
фильм, который,
inanimate object?
как
I
он
want
там,
to say
и настоящая
something,
девушка,
but I
как его
don't know
зовут
how
там,
I can
типа,
convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway.
кто-нибудь, наверное,
Stanley,
понял, да, о чем я?
can you
Ларс и
hear me?
настоящая девушка, да,
Listen
или
to
как-то
me.
так.
It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do
Спокойной ночи, Паша,
anything
давай.
else. You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he
Ревнует,
trusted and
ревнует,
listened
ревнует.
to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it. Yes, I suppose on closer inspection, that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from
Ой, залез
one room to another.
на диван.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no, I'm having feelings. The bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Ой.
All
Теперь.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the
Где
bucket in his
теперь?
arms again, he was home. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little
Welcome to
discourage
whiteboard
Stanley's
ending.
belief in the magic of the bucket.
Ура! Охуй.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the
Так,
door.
пойду вниз по лестнице потом.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
Ну давай я верну.
I can really
Верну
feel it
ведро.
now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
Не, это хуйня
If
какая-то.
you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's
Ну
office.
уж нет. О,
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the
Это раздел
possibility
связан
of
с
facing his
суицидом.
boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that.
А, я понял.
And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken
А почему
that
ты
risk?
предупреждал?
All
Почему?
because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then...
Я зажал F, но
something
ничего не
occurred to
сработало.
Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at
Блядь,
the
ну-
bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket
У меня
returned its gaze,
галка
but
стоит
said,
где-то. Где? А, предупреждение вот. Эпизод, связанный с суицидом, травмами и душевными болезнями. Не, пожалуйста,
nothing at all.
ничего не
That's
боюсь.
strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these.
Эта
He
концовка
held the
самая
bucket
хуёвая,
close,
вот это
yet
вот.
felt none of its familiar
по мне.
reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd.
Ну просто тут особо ты никуда не идешь, кругами ходишь, блядь.
Oh, gracious.
О, теперь я лечу, потом сейчас
Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad.
Потом
Where is
звездочки
it?
будут.
I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket. Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity.
Я
And
лечу,
then
кстати,
suddenly,
левитирую.
He froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along.
Неужели сейчас Станни себя разорвет?
Incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
What the fuck?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket.
Это правда, да.
Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work. All of his co-workers finally picked up the bucket and smiled.
У меня ведро с наклейками все еще.
Not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest
Так,
and
пошли.
entered the door on his left.
Пошли направо.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Если тут
And
останусь,
here it
правильно?
was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
А, все.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his
Я могу пойти туда
left,
еще,
back
вот
to
туда,
the meeting
дальше.
room.
Но можно пойти вот сюда и забрать фигурку же, правильно?
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Тихо, тихо, тихо. Опа. Опа, блять, где я вообще? Тут...
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Я понял, я понял. Пошли назад в этот самый. Пошли назад в вентиляцию. Ух, ебать, куда я упал? Где я? Я уже с нетерпением жду гайд, где найти все эти фигурки в стиме, которые ничего не дают, но когда ты их находишь. В этом прикол, знаете, вот.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense
Я не могу с этой хуйней.
anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so.
Интересно, если не брать ведро, условно, да? То есть не брать ведро и пойти дальше. Но потом. Я сейчас ведро возьму еще раз, пойду...
I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket.
Ну, мне подарили.
This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Это тоже концовка, да? Да, понял. Так, теперь беру ведро и иду в последнее место, где не ходил.
Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Так, теперь сюда.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was.
You built G-Man.
The bucket turned out to be correct.
Oh yes.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Так, туда я ходил.
Stanley took the door on his left.
И теперь я пойду сюда. Сюда я уже ездил. И теперь мне сюда, да? Ну я так приду в этот самый. Ага, я прихожу вот сюда в офис. Или эта дверь открылась, я закрыл ее нахуй.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
А, я ж не ходил, тут еще escape есть, помните? С этой стороны. Где... Если идешь вперед, там налево можно уйти. Где escape есть.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Я не верю в это.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Ну уж нет.
At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death.
Ну уж нет. Нарратор, ну уж нет. Ну уж нет. Походу нам пизда. А, да. Да, все. Это погибель.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator. as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Ведро приглашает вас на большую выставку. Ну, пойдем.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and
Фото 25 ведер сразу.
Can you see the hubris that blinded him?
Невероятно.
Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Ведро с двумя ручками. Адское ведро. Из нее что-то слышно, кстати. Из ведра, если прислушаться. Ведро антистресс. Комментарий отсутствует, написано.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Висящее ведро. Экспонат символизирует неизбежную связь ведра и человечества. Ой! А, там я могу пройтись по воздуху.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler.
О, за ведро будем играть.
As commander of a new world, a new vision.
Вам гол какой конкретно? Так. Пятый. Ой, это не.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
Не, пятый МГУ это такое себе. Так, все по делу, да, с ведром? Теперь ведро не беру. Все, ведро не беру. Иду без ведра, иду.
When Stanley came to a set of two
Так.
open doors, he entered the door.
Куда еще можно уйти? Тут я пойду в этот самый, наверное, направо.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Куда же еще могу пойти?
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Так, это я пойду на лифт. Туда, на лифте я спущусь. Куда я спущусь на лифте, если пойду на лифт? У дощечек фигурка, где была, можно... Да-да, я упал уже вниз туда. Разве нет?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Вот сюда вниз упасть, ты типа ты имеешь в виду, да? Вот где, вот там вот дверь. Может реально можно туда слезть, кстати говоря. Так, а ну. Сейчас залезу на эту хуй. Ой, блядь, чуть, хоть бы не упасть. Блядь. Блядь. Блядь, вы застрял. А, нет, все нормально, тихо-тихо. Все хорошо. Так.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Раньше full damage не было. О, теперь я здесь.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Where are we going today? The bucket asked.
С лифта там есть?
Stanley clutched the bucket
Сейчас пойду.
tightly to
Сейчас
his
я
chest.
посмотрю.
This was not the
Я тоже
correct
подумал,
way
что
to
с
the
лифта надо
meeting room.
спрыгнуть.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the
Сейчас посмотрим.
employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting
Ну уж нет, narrator man.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
А, вот
The
сюда можно
cargo
спрыгнуть,
lift,
реально же
yes.
меня везет
Go
наверх, я только
there.
сейчас понял.
Go to the cargo lift.
Я ведро не буду
Good,
слушаться, я
said the
панк.
bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him.
Ой!
because buckets can't
Ёбаный в
talk. But
рот.
Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point."
Блядь.
Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
Потому что я без
Unless
ведра первый раз пришел.
The problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket. I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So
Что нужно
much of
сделать?
the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Ну ладно, пойдем. Аж презентация будет.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simply enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
Давай.
Okay, let's begin.
Это ведро.
One. Is this a bucket?
Да.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Как так-то, бля?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Да.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Ты гандон. Ты такой гандон, бля.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Да.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's
No,
an enormous machine that
no,
tills
блядь,
the
я-
earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket?
Да, это точно ведро.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Каким образом, нахуй?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Нет.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Вот. Таня, привет.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Ну это точно ведро.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly
если
know that a bucket
вообразить,
is something.
если
And
вообразить.
therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
Да.
Danny, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game.
Не надо, не надо, не надо.
Okay, here we go.
Блять.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Понял. Сейчас пойду туда же, только без ведра.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Там же написано был знак без ведра, а я с ведром пришел. Сейчас пойду без ведра. Нужно последнюю фигурку найти. Или они специально добавили только 5 из 6. Ну, я в принципе, ожидаемо, что разработчики так делают. Сука, они, наверное, не добавили специально одно, чтобы ребята такие... Где же эта фигурка? Где? Где же эта фигурка? Последним чудиком. Нет, спасибо. Я иду на этот самый, на погрузчик.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Нет, я просто хочу найти фигурку.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Say this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Ура! Я ничего не
Now
получу.
listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time?
Было бы очень смешно, на самом деле, если бы статуэток было 5, и потом это как-нибудь обыграли. Ачивку не... Он же сказал, что ничего не будет. Ты что, думаешь, он обманул? Каждый раз, когда я сюда находил, он говорит, ну, не дадут награды, все, успокойся. Нихуя не дали, не волнуйся. О. Дверь сзади меня тоже открылась, кстати. Блять, а куда идти? Сюда? Пойду сюда.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think No, wait. Where are you going? Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley.
О, я живой.
Oh, Thank God.
Да, еще раз.
No. No. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Я хочу к ведру.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Ну уж
My
нет.
God. Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't... Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Ну пошли в твою комнату схожу. Что там в комнате летают звездочки эти твои?
I wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Мне это не интересно, я пойду спрыгну с лестницы. Прикольное место на самом деле. Здравствуйте, Капаневс. Кто такой все? Почему ты с ним здороваешься?
Is it over?
О!
It's going to restart. isn't it? I'm going back.
О! Ух,
Stan,
блядь.
I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life?
Ну, Абрахаму
Didn't it fill
понравилось
you to the
вроде.
brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Так и быть, пойдем.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Теперь я вспоминаю, как я нашел фигурки. А, еще раз можно посмотреть на это типа в музее. И тут я тут еще куда-то не ходил. Там, помните, подземельная эта штука была еще.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
7 из 6.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's
Это правда, да, я
bathroom.
так сделал, да.
You did that, Stanley.
Спасибо,
I'll be
спасибо.
honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Покажите лучше, где я с паркуром сделал все.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
Вот здесь.
No. Under the stairs was the 4th place you found a Figanley, not the 3rd.
Да я чуть...
Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If under the stairs feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
Все правильно, да. Не пизди.
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room.
Такого не было.
I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Ну ладно.
This was the 5th mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Охуеть.
Takes you back, doesn't
Это
it?
нереально
I
было.
spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else. And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone. No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Is there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Давай посмотрим, должно быть прикольно.
Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this.
Я надеюсь, еще видео реверсом будет, которое...
looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more. And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we
Помню,
watched?
да.
Yes, I love that video. Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been
Там невидимая
any
стена,
kind
тут
of
нигде нельзя
reward for
упасть.
finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Мы пошли в офис босса, сходим еще. Тут стена невидимая. Понял. Значит, назад.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Так, теперь здесь. Вот это просто такой этот самый уголочек какой-то. Ладно.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on.
А, во как.
I remember hating it back then. but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it. Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office.
И все?
Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office?
Стэнли Парабл
There's
один
something
же
I
еще
feel
был.
I can remember.
Нужно вернуться в первую часть.
Yes, I'm remembering something.
Неужели сейчас меня прям в
I
мод?
remember before this whole story
Неужели меня
got
в этот
started.
самый сейчас
Back
кинут?
then I was different.
Неужели меня сейчас
I
кинет
used to
в
make
этот
big
мод?
decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical.
Или
I
нет?
weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much.
Неужели это true концовка?
Here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Что, ведро брать? Беру ведро.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley
О, написано
needed the bucket's
reboot the
warmth
game
to come
entirely,
now
смотрите.
more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office
А ну.
was
Сейчас. Интересно, что будет. Так, текущее время. Сейчас полночь будет, получается. Будет 1 AM? Нет. Будет... Вот так же будет, правильно? Или сколько? Ой, 1 PM. 11:34. AM или PM? Сейчас. Блять. Вот так. Блять, я походу в Resident Evil зашел, или что это? Могу кое-что сказать. Все же правильно выставили время оба раза, что запускали игру. Спасибо, спасибо. Я даже не знаю, правильно ли время выставить. Давайте договоримся. При следующем запуске игры просто поставьте на этом экране свое любое время. Берете любое время, даже если оно неправильно, вы заслужили. Теперь можно вернуться к игре. О, спасибо. Саня Шпигун, спасибо. Добро пожаловать, рейдеры, если...
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked
Alex.
for a company in a big
Ali.
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them.
Не, так понял, ничего не изменилось, нужно еще разок ебануть. О, с возвращением дали ачивку мне. Выйти из игры, а потом снова зайдите.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah, the embrace of an old friend.
Так, выйти в меню. Мне сказали в следующий раз выбрать любое время, да, при запуске игры. Вообще похую какое. Любимое, да? Любимое время выбрать? Ну, конечно же. Или вы не смогли удержаться? Я ведь знаю, как вам нравится выставлять точное время. Теперь мне интересно, точно ли сейчас 4:20? Насколько точное время неточное? Приятно собирать данные. Вот там еще ползунков. Давай, новые ползунки. Перед запуском игры должны быть готовы. Новинки. А, опять перезайти. Давай. Сейчас еще ползунки посмотрим. Притащите ползунок, пока компьютер будет едва виден. Так. Вот так, давай. О, вот так. О, готово. Тащите ползунок, пока кошка с собакой не подружатся. Еее. Пока цифра 5 не станет цифрой 9. Ща. О. Пока меню не поменяется. Так, меню не меняется. Ну, тут немного появляется вот этот самый. Ладно, давай так. Выдуман слово, наверное, забыл. Скрумтуш или скрумтуш. Прикольно звучит. Не перетаскивать. Хорошо. Сколько сейчас времени? Да, знаю. Хочу знать, сколько сейчас. Сейчас действительно столько времени. Да. Что такое время? Нет. Да. Зайдите ко мне повидать. Да, конечно. Так, в игре ничего не изменилось. Скорее всего, сейчас опять ребут надо
All of
ебать.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting
Я,
room.
кстати, играю в Стэнли сиквел на паузе,
Perhaps
блядь.
he had simply missed a memo. The bucket made
Я думал, когда я загружусь в игру, меня куда-нибудь в другое место загрузит, когда я, да, нажал повидаться, типа, наверное. Сколько времени? Я ебу. Блять. 23:40. Кто-нибудь знает точно? Разумеется, нет. Мы настроили игру под ваши требования, но кто делает по-другому? Это просто моя работа. Теперь она окончена. Вся информация собрана, а вас больше ничего узнать. Некоторые настройки и не настроить. Блин. При следующем запуске игры меня здесь не будет. Но ничего, видеоигры были созданы для одиночек. Поговорите в ближайшее время. С кем нахуй? О, можно поиграть в эпилог. Здравствуйте, Apple Rerun. Здравствуйте, все, кто пришел. От Сани Шпигуна. Во что Саня играл? Alpha Protocol? О, это ж когда я шел с этого, да? Получается. Продолжение концовки, когда я шел по пустыне. Если я правильно понимаю. Первый сезон Офиса? А, прикольно. А чё он решил с нихуя Офис посмотреть? А, аукцион, понял. Красиво тут, конечно, да, ничего не скажешь. Ух ты. О, вот и этот мир воспоминаний. Что за игра? Battlefield. Cookie Nine's блок. Мне что-то кажется, что этот чувак выдуманный. Вот я 100% уверен, что Cookie Nine выдуманный человек, как это было, блядь. А, тут ревью, да, на английском языке? Правильно? Я думал, это просто прикол. Если я, наверное, поменяю на английский, скорее всего, оно сработает еще. Ого. Scored how truly disappointed I am with the sequel. Uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Collecting all figurines gives you nothing. Прикол на Cloud9. Не, при чем тут вообще это, блядь? А, тут везде слетело. Ладно, сейчас. Cloud9 это не никнейм, это клан. Stanley Parable это не то, чего хотели фанаты. Написано. Что, монетки, что ли? А.
Jim. 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 Stanley. Jim. Stanley. Stanley. Jim. Stanley.
Чья-то фотка, видимо, какие-то ютуберы или кто?
Stanley. Jim. Jim. Jim.
Ура! Еще больше коллектаблов собрал, 26. Thank you for enjoying the new content. Компьютер. Hello again. Это же этот самый компьютер, который собирал информацию. А, они сделали такую же историю, как и Замтям, я понял, как и с Beginner's Guide, короче. О, мы сделаем... мы сделаем Stanley Parable 3. Так, нужно собрать... собрать из 3 слов новое название для Stanley Parable. Так. Stanley Parable 3. Forbidden Gun Space. Forbidden Gun. Каждый раз, когда будет перезапускать игру, число сиквела будет меняться на 1, увеличиваться на 1. А потом выберем еще один. И будем добавлять по еще одному названию, и так Stanley Parable никогда не закончится. Понял? Не, давай не будем так делать. Или стоит так сделать? Блять, эпилог опять проходить заново, чтобы согласиться. Верни Русик. Кто такой Русик? Я могу на мышку нажать, да, идти его? О, все, пришел. Сейчас заспидраню. Нельзя боком идти, я быстрее боком не иду, как на Unity. Есть такая штука. Спидраню, видите, спидраню. Срезаю углы. В Таркове, не, в Таркове это по фикшену. В основном в играх на Unity просто можно. Игра запомнила, кстати, что я фигурки тут собрал. Реально, да-да-да. Создать глупое название для сиквелов. Да, план хороший. Новый сиквел с каждым новым запуском. Сломанное достижение. Вот, пожалуйста, теперь машина с достижениями работает. Стэнли Парабл не закончится. Текущее время. Блять, какое сейчас время? Сколько там было? — 11:52 же, правильно сейчас? PM. Ввожу. Компьютер. Хорошие игры в Stanley Parable. Вот он, Stanley Parable 3, запретный пистолет. Да, эту игру я создал.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Так,
Stanley
надо
decided to go
перезайти.
to the meeting
Еще
room.
раз.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better.
Ща. Так, перезаходим в Stanley Parable. Сейчас в новый Stanley Parable 4 сейчас будет. Там же с каждым одним будет прибавляться каждый раз. Каждый раз будет новая часть. Так. Stanley Parable 4. Там, где живет... Там, где живет привет. Вот он. Так, а как к машине попасть, кстати? Я уже забыл совсем. Как попасть на выставку? Я ж нахожусь в Stanley Parable 4, не в первой части. Я хочу просто удивление этого услышать, когда я...
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps,
О,
he
еще
would become
дверь с new content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Походу сюда же я правильно иду, да? Меня сейчас отправят на этот...
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Это не та игра, я в четвертую часть уже ебашу.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Мне нужно дойти до машины и нажать это самое, на рычаг, чтобы охуел
Step
этот.
inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Чтобы наратор
This
охуел.
sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new ultra deluxe content. Wait, Stanley. I've just now realized that bucket you're holding. It's the bucket I've been working on for my sequel.
Как ты
How did
понял?
you get your hands on it? Isn't this the preview to the sequel? How do you have the bucket
Ну
already?
я уже в четвертую часть.
This makes no sense at all.
Я уже в четвертую часть
Hold
хуя.
on. Did I already show you my ideas for the sequel? I don't remember doing that at all. You're seeing things all out of order.
Я уже в яму прыгал, если тебе интересно. Тут я
All
уже...
right.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Я уже все видел здесь. Я уже с ведром.
The infinite hole, the giant door. Did you see them already?
Да.
Stanley, none of them are ready yet. I'm still developing them.
Я
They're
уже
not
всё-
even close to finished.
Я
How did
сделал
they
уже всё.
look? When you saw them, were they captivating? Were they exciting? Did they fulfill on the promise of everything that a sequel to Stanley Parable could possibly be? Had I figured out how the hell to make a sequel to this game? Wait, if you're still carrying the bucket around with you, if the bucket is interesting to you, that means I must have made it correctly.
Да, все правильно.
Yes. You carrying the bucket with you everywhere is exactly what I set out to accomplish. The bucket is the exciting and captivating new content that I promised. I did it! I win! I made a sequel to the Stanley Parable! Yes, the sign is correct. Thank you for enjoying the new content. Thank you for taking the bucket everywhere with you, clinging tightly to the bucket, never letting it go. It means I've won. It means I am victorious over the gamers. It is a sweet salve of victory on my soul. Thank you for enjoying the new content. The bucket is the Stanley Parable now. They are one and the same. There is no Stanley Parable without the bucket. I win, 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 I win.
Блять. Че, ведро теперь не брать? Или брать ведро все-таки?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
Возьму все
Everyone
равно.
is so lucky to have a bucket.
Возьму,
But
мне
Stanley
же должно
is a
сейчас
very
следующий
lucky
этот самый...
fellow. Very lucky
А, во-во,
indeed.
Экспо Холл, все правильно. Все. Неужели я смогу 2 ведра взять еще? Было бы довольно прикольно. Если бы обыграли такую хуйню. Ведра Акимбо, да, будут у меня.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Ну, хайп уже не такой жесткий, когда я первый раз сюда пришел.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory.
Я уже
we'll
в 4-ю
cover
часть
with a
ебашу, кстати.
fully fledged sequel, an entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
А ну, если я пойду в эту комнату с ведром, и уже будучи с ведром.
Wait, there are 2 buckets here. How did you get a second bucket? Oh no, the warmth and comfort of a single bucket is already so great, so intoxicatingly wonderful. With 2 buckets, there's no telling. Stanley, can you still hear me? Are you with me?
Еб...
Stanley! Oh, thank God, I didn't lose you, Stanley. The power of 2
Моё
buckets was
ведро,
too much.
блядь.
I had to destroy both of them.
А,
I know how much the bucket meant to you, but I couldn't take the risk. I hope one day you can forgive me.
сука, а? Так, в дыру я не пойду, нахуй надо. Где этот самый free achievement? Вот, free and easy achievement. Сейчас нарратор охуеет от того, что у меня заработало все. Он сейчас охуеет, точнее, что у него
Now,
заработала эта
here's
штука.
something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Ну, дали
As you can see, the machine is not working yet since... What? Wait. What in the holy hell is going on? You got the achievement? Why did the machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Who fixed it? Is someone here? Are we being watched?
Да, на стриме смотрят.
Oh, God. Composure. Composure. Yes, as you can see, the machine is working as normal, as I intended. It truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe.
У нарратора, да, начинается это самое. Паника начинается. Но я пойду в его еще этот самый погуляю. Чё не? Пойду по остальным.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Пошли коллектаблс. Я же начну собирать, скорее всего, и... Написано, ты тут уже был. Откуда он нахуй знает? Так, теперь можно пойти в яму. Эту. Бесконечную яму. Конечно, разлом четвертой стены очень прикольно сделан, здесь ничего не скажешь.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then,
интересно, он поймет, что я уже знаю, что туда нужно падать.
You can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's
Мне кажется, ничего не изменилось.
I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated
Да, разницы
by
нет, я уже
falling.
понял, да. Тут...
What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on
Что-то,
me.
мне кажется, мне нужно на
Maybe
выход идти
you're the
почему-то.
problem. Look,
Дай мне
things got a little
телепортироваться,
heated
пожалуйста.
there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of
Meeting
the
at
hole
2
and we can
p.m.
move on.
Если
I'll
на
just be
записке.
up here when you're ready.
Это мне в реальной жизни нужно
Great.
прийти,
Now,
да? Вот
I'm
это
very
самое.
excited to show you
На
even
митинг,
more of
блядь,
my
в этом
ideas for
самом.
the sequel.
Скорее всего, мне нужно в 2 ночи, что ли? А, погоди, в 2 утра, да? Или... Погоди, ну в обед, типа в 2 часа надо прийти. В обед, блядь. В Stanley Parable зайти. И прийти на митинг. Если я правильно время выставил, конечно же.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait.
You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then. All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Oh yes.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video
Ну
game.
это я
but
уже видел.
I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it.
А что сейчас будет? Подожди, если я четвертую часть играю, что сейчас вообще будет, блядь? Что ниже будет? Я надеюсь, ничего не поломается? Ну, типа... То есть будет Stanley Parable 2, но я играю в четвертую часть.
Tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, this is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Ну, в это я уже играл. Что я пропустил? Походу уже все, да? Я уже все поиграл.
This is the story. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps
It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward.
Последний ребут. Ща. Будет Стэнли 5 должен быть, как я понял. Если я ребутну. О, Stanley Parable 5. Теперь еще и телефон. Нету этой самой. Я поломал, походу, что-то. Ну, видимо, все. Правильно, сейчас ачивменты посмотрю еще. Еще есть пройти игру, есть ачивмент у меня. Играйте в Stanley Parable весь вторник. Не играйте в Stanley Parable 10 лет. Тут тоже ачивка, кстати, есть это. Концовка с компами, я не пробовал ее. Ну, из нового я ничего не пропустил, да? Ну, у концовых с ведром еще. Блядь, лень, лень. Ну, было прикольно, честно скажу. Очень прикольный Стэнли Парабл. На 3 часа, может даже больше, прикольно. Прикольно. Что-то не было приколов с другими играми, короче. Вот, типа там же Майнкрафт был в прошлой части, да? Секретная концовка, но только с ведром, а ну.
This was not dense. Why, incredible the amounts of
А не, эту я открывал. Эту я открывал. Ты просто не дошел, видимо. А что еще нужно сделать? Я вернусь сейчас. И, блядь, я игру уже удалил. Все. Киньте ссылку, посмотрю. Это с тем, что ты выходишь из двери быстрее, чем она закрыта. А какая дверь закрыта? А вот Bucket Escape Pod Ending. Ща. О.
Wait, you can put the cutscene on the bucket.
I'm literally crying right now. Bad ending.
So sad. Now the bucket's gone.
Понял. Да, нельзя свечи свести, потому что не на сурсе. Игрушка на компьютер. А, вот даже так можно сделать. Ничего себе они придумали, конечно, прикольно. Погоди, концовка ой, точнее, Go Outside 5 лет не играть в Stanley Parable у меня в прошлой части есть, а тут сколько? А, 10 лет не играть в Stanley Parable. Так, ну Stanley Parable все, я думаю, что у меня еще есть? На потом уже. Ну и хуй его знает. А, я ж качал, а ну-ка сейчас. А, Road 96 следующая игра будет. Это уже завтра. А то уже сколько? Уже полночь. Все, ребята, всем спасибо. Stanley Parable был очень прикольный, понравилось. Понравилось, скажу честно. Запись сохранится, да. Все, завтра Road 96 будет. Всех жду завтра. Давайте, пока.